Welcome to another episode of Financially Fit. I'm your host, Deborah Manfrey, and today I have a very special guest that I'm so excited to introduce to you guys. We actually got connected through Instagram, which is pretty amazing. I was literally instantly drawn to her energy, to her person, like the way she talked. And at the time, I was already reading into the law of attraction, Joe Dispenza's meditation, I love it. But then I realized that she had a community, the Evolve community, and not too long after following her, I decided to join her community, which was life-changing for me. It was amazing. I'm so excited. I'm so honored to have her here today. Erika, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I know from the moment I met you, I felt such a powerful, bright, authentic energy from you. So it's absolutely my pleasure to be here.
I felt the same way. Even through Instagram, I was just so drawn to you. I was like, what is it about her? It's just her energy, just the way she talks. And trying your meditations, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hello, guys. I'm so grateful and excited to be here. My name is Erika Polsinelli, and I started this entire journey because I had very intense anxiety. I didn't realize I really had anxiety most of my life. Definitely some of it was a learned behavior of worrying and putting all of my energy into worries about the future. And then as I got into my 20s, I started to have panic attacks, and they were really taking me over because in the moments that I was having them, I literally felt like I might die. I might have a heart attack, but also in the moments I wasn't having them, I was worried that I would have one and I wouldn't know when it would pop up next. And I started to realize that I can use my energy to work for me or continue to use my energy to work against myself, against my dreams, against the life that I wanted to live. And it was this very serendipitous line of events that guided me to this practice. And after finding it, I started practicing Kundalini meditation for 3 to 5 minutes every morning.
That's it?
That is it. And the first time I did it, I literally felt a sense of release from my physical body that I never experienced before, like almost orgasmic, like my whole body just chilled out in the most blissful way. And I'm like, wait, what is this? I'm going to do this every day. And that's what I did. 3 to 5 minutes every day. I had less anxiety. I was more grounded. I was more patient. I was happier. I was calmer. I was more peaceful. And then it evolved.
I know. And that was but this is interesting because you had panic attacks, right? Yeah. I was just drawn to you and just listening to you talk about the practice. I was already practicing Joe Dispenza's meditation, which moves energy to your body. Yes. And it was great. But once I tried your meditations, it was just really, like you said, it was completely different. And I every day had to meditate and felt just better and better. But I did not know that how anxious I was, because you had panic attacks. So you knew. Yeah. I wasn't aware of that. I thought living like that was normal until I started practicing. And I was like, wait a second, I feel so grounded. I feel so calm. I don't react anymore. And it was just an amazing experience.
And it is actually considered, this type of practice is considered the yoga or meditation of awareness. It allows us to have more awareness over ourselves, our thoughts, our energy. And when we have awareness, that's really the catalyst to change. We can't change something about ourselves unless we're aware that maybe we need to shift, maybe we need a change. And what this practice helps us to do is start to shine light on places that have been in the shadow or in the dark, things that we didn't even know about ourselves that exist within us that may be keeping us small or maybe keeping us in a cycle or a program. And it just starts to shine some light there. Like, ooh, Erika, maybe you should dive into this a little bit deeper. Maybe that's not the way you need to think anymore. Maybe that's not the way you need to respond anymore. Maybe it's time for something different. And when those little moments add up to something so great,
Yes. So can you share a little bit how you started practicing Kundalini, but how did your journey like started? What did you do about your story? Because you have a very amazing story that can inspire a lot of people.
Yeah. So as I started to share, at the time I was an elementary school teacher, and I always knew that I was meant to do something else other than that, but I didn't know what it was. And while I practiced 3 to 5 minutes each morning, I would go to school. All of a sudden, I found like a deeper sense of understanding of like why I was here and the role I played as a teacher. Like my energy impacted these 20 children that were in my class. And if I show up and I'm in a crappy mood, then I'd be sharing that energy. So it started to help me be aware that like, wow, through my meditation practice, I'm showing up as a better teacher to all of these children. And I'm showing up as a better colleague to all the people that I'm working with and surrounding myself with. I'm showing up as a better family member, or at the time, fiance. I was engaged to my husband at the time. So I started really small, 3 to 5 minutes each morning. And what happens is, and this is coming from someone who never knew how to meditate. I got the message that I needed to start meditating. I heard it. That was like my first very clear intuitive hit. And I was kind of like, that's interesting. I don't know how to do that.
The same thing happened to me.
Do you want me to just sit in silence? Is that meditation? Am I supposed to clear my mind? Because that's impossible. Like, okay. And then slowly the practice literally found me, which I think this practice does. You have to be ready for it and open to it. And slowly I just experienced huge transformations. And I would just walk around and be like, I think I was given a new set of eyes and I'm accessing more of my brain. Like I felt downloaded with wisdom I never had before, perspective I never had before. And I'm like, holy shit, is this a spiritual awakening? Like, is this what they call a spiritual awakening? And from there, after I had such a profound shift and my life just dramatically changed, I decided that I wanted to go learn about what was actually happening. So I wanted to go for a training in Kundalini. And I remember I signed up a week late, and the week of when it started, that's the moment I like knew I should have been there. And I had a conversation with my husband on the couch. I'm like, listen, I decided I'm going to sign up for this Kundalini training. I'm not going to be a Kundalini teacher. I'm not going to be a yogi. Like, I just want to go and figure out what I'm meant to do and what my dharma is. And then after training, after a day of training, it was a 9-month program. After one day, I was like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do.
Wow.
And that's where it all began. And I started to teach really slowly on Instagram. And then I started an online platform. And now it's grown to a really large community and an app.
It's a beautiful community. I'm part of the community. I'm so grateful for that community. Every time we have like a community meditation, it's just so powerful. And every day I just take it more and more. So how did your family, like your husband, like, because he was married to somebody else, completely different. How did that go?
It's very interesting. My husband has a story of his own, but now looking back, how they coincide. So he is 7 years sober.
Wow.
And at the time when I realized I needed a shift, it was shortly after he was in recovery and was in a program to become sober and to start living a sober life. So he stopped drinking, and I often self-medicated with alcohol. And I didn't realize I was doing that until after, but I distinctly remember one evening, he wasn't home. I had cooked dinner, and usually I never really loved cooking. It takes a lot of energy for me.
I'm the same way.
Just a lot. It's a lot of work, especially if you like eat a lot of vegetables. It's a lot of work. So what I would do then was, after my day of work, I would start drinking wine while I cooked. It made it fun. And I remember this one evening where I sat down to eat. I started eating my dinner, and I dropped my fork and was like, oh my God, you're not drinking. You don't have a glass of wine with you. This is bizarre. Like, already you would have been like 1 or 2 glasses deep. And I was like, I'm like, well, I'm going to go pour myself a glass of wine, because that's what I do. That's what I need. That's what's going to keep me calm. And that's what I thought was keeping me calm. And I poured myself a glass and I took a sip and it tasted different. All of a sudden, my body no longer wanted it. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this is very interesting. And it started to click. And like that moment of like, wow, you've been using this as a Band-Aid. You've been using this to self-soothe. And now you have a practice that's helping you and giving you what you need so you can drop this habit and you no longer need this. Or, I never needed it, but I thought I did. So my husband thought that I wasn't really drinking because he was on his sober journey. And I love that because I am very supportive and he sees me as very supportive. But it was kind of like this symbiotic occurrence that happens for him and for me at the same time, which was cool. But with that being said, he would come home and I would be having what he thought was a seance. I was just meditating with some candles and Palo Santo and chanting things that he's never heard before. And he was like, what is going on? And at first, he and my family members were a little concerned. Like I was dressing a certain way. I was going to this training and dressing in all white and wearing a headpiece. And they were just like, what are you actually doing? Is this a religion? Like, what are you learning about? And my husband worried a lot about how other people would see me, his family, his friends. Yes. And as much as he was seeing the changes in me and seeing how beneficial this was, there was a piece of him that was like, what are other people going to think?
Exactly.
And then when we decided that I would leave my career as an elementary school teacher and do this full time, that was another layer. Like he finally got comfortable with like, okay, wow, what you're doing has really helped you. It's really helped our relationship because when we work on ourselves, every single relationship we have benefits from it.
Correct.
So he started to see that and feel that. But then the next layer was like, okay, now I'm going to leave my job. That's very secure. That's helped us get to where we are, buying a home and just being very financially stable. And that brought up another layer. But what he saw in me, and not just me, like, and I say this so humbly, but the DMs I'll receive from people and community members who are sharing that since they started this practice, everything has changed for them. Like I'll just show him because I'm in tears and I'm like, you have to read this. Like, look at what this, this is why I do it because this practice is that powerful. He starts to realize like, okay, you're not just weird. This is actually helping you. It's helping other people. So it's definitely a process. And I think it's such a good question that you ask because I think a lot of people right now are living through a spiritual awakening and the significant others or the families may not get it. And guess what? They don't have to get it. They don't have to do what you do. They don't have to sit there and get their tush on a meditation mat and meditate with you. By you taking time to do this, you're transforming yourself and you're helping them.
Yes, I totally agree with that. That is my experience. That's why I'm asking you because it was when my husband saw me sitting and he was just like, what are those noises? What are you doing? Yeah. And slowly he saw me changing, and he's just like, and people just see you just seem free. You just seem more authentic, more yourself. And I was just like, it's just the meditations. And I want everybody to do it, but I understand that it's not meant for everyone. It's just really because the transformations are so deep. But they do, my kids, my husband, love the benefits of it because through me deciding to heal myself, they all been healed in a very interesting way.
Yes.
But I had the same experience as you with the alcohol because I was never a drinker, but I would drink coffee in the mornings. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I got this intuitive, you don't need coffee anymore because the practice gives you that much energy. It's just, really I know that it gives you that much energy. So I just got this, just go a month without the coffee. Which was the month of January, just the past month. See how you feel. And I literally never felt like drinking. And it was just I realized there was a pattern that I was repeating. And it's not that whoever wants to drink coffee, it's fine. It's just for me, it wasn't benefiting my body because I started drinking coffee with my husband. So I didn't drink coffee until my mid-20s. So it wasn't like I drank coffee my whole life. And I think that also add a lot of anxiety too. I think, I don't know, but that's how, and it's just been amazing. I was just like, okay, I'm not drinking coffee. And the other day I said, let me just make a little bit, because I was going to the gym. I was like, let me get a little caffeine. And the minute I sipped like you, I was like, I don't want to touch this anymore. This is like yucky. And I was never like a drinker, but now I don't even want to touch alcohol. I'm just so lean more into, like, I'm always going to more vegetables, like more healthy foods. It just affects everything on your brain. So
It really does. It affects the choices we make. We just become so much more aware and sensitive.
Correct.
And because we're getting lighter, and my journey actually, the reason why I was open to meditation was because I started eating mostly a plant-based diet, and that lightens you up. I'm not saying everyone needs to be plant-based to meditate at all. That's not what I'm saying. It just helped me to lighten up and create some space in my body, and made me available to meditation. And you become more sensitive and just aware. And that's how these shifts happen.
Yes, and even the
awareness.
voice, like when you hear it, and I tell my husband, and he's just like, I don't know what you talk. I'm like, you don't hear? Because I was guided to start meditating. We literally got the message, you need to start meditating like yourself. And it was just like, what is that? And I was watching Joe Dispenza, and just like, oh. But then when I started with Evolve, I tell everyone, and they're like, this is wild. And my family say, you're completely different. My mom, my sisters, my sibling, and they're not even here. They in Brazil, but they see you as they talk to me, things that I would react. They're like, you're so calm. It's just amazing. Whatever you're doing, can you help us?
Oh, I love that.
You're
such a light.
They do. And you know what it is, Erika? You feel their pain, like to live in that anxious, because you just have so much trust and so much knowing that everything is going to be okay. I always struggle with being present. And now it's so much easier to be here. I still work on, because my husband's more like, he's very present. He'll give you full attention. That's him. I was always like multitasking, doing 10 things at once. So I'm always like, okay, wherever, I need to be more present. I need to enjoy like my kids, my family, or whatever I'm at, like if it's a client. So it just allows me to just feel more grounded.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's so true.
How did the change go? Because I know leaving such a stable job, it's definitely not something easy. It's just, you making a good money. I'm a loan officer, so you making a good living. It's in going to some unknown.
Yeah. And you understand. And I understand the magnitude of it too, because we did buy our house before I left my job, and I know how important of a role that was. And like having the stable income, it's very different than having your own business. And I grew up in a family where my parents just wanted me to have a career, to be independent. And I love that. I love being financially independent in that way. It was something that was of importance as I was raised. And, I have a lot of education because of that. But what started to happen is, and we were speaking a little bit about this before we got on air, what starts to happen is your intuition becomes so clear, and the meaning of life completely shifts. And the only thing that was important for me was to live my truth and do what I'm here to do. And at this moment, I believe it's to share these teachings so that other people can heal and can ascend and can live a happier, calmer, more peaceful life. And I thought that I was going to leave my job and not go back after the pandemic, but we both got cold feet. I did go back in 2021, and that year taught me so much. I had to live in the discomfort of not really listening and having the confidence in my intuition and the trust in the universe. And it taught me that. And I give so much credit to people who are just like, F this, I'm out, I'll figure it out. Like, that was never really me. But as you start to really develop that trust in the universe, that when you listen to your intuition, you're going to be guided, you're going to be supported, you're going to be taken care of. And that's the truth. And it became more uncomfortable to not follow that than to keep doing what I was doing. The discomfort grew. And I felt so blessed and grateful to know my purpose. And it almost felt very much out of alignment to ignore it or to do something else just for a solid salary and income or a pension or the health benefits. Like, it just felt greater than that.
I know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a huge shift going for something so safe and secure and having the courage. And I love that you shared that you still went on another year, even though you felt that strong feeling of going after, because that's something that I was going through a lot of shifts for me. Last year was a big year of changes and understanding. Even when I started this podcast, I wanted to talk about fitness and things, that it still is part of me, but it's not as deep. I wanted to add more value. I wanted to just help people to understand who they really are, the purpose that we are here to serve a purpose, and we're here to help one another. Yeah. And so many times we get caught up on our own things and forget about others. So how did it go when you finally decided, to just, when did you feel safe to, you know what I'm saying? Like, going through the changes, and because it's not an easy process. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that they know they're meant for so much more. They know that feeling that they want to go after that, but sometimes they let fear stop them, which is fine. Fear is here to protect us. I know that. But courage is also here for us.
Yeah. So I remember this moment. I don't know if I've shared this yet, but it's been on my mind a lot lately. I have a family friend who's also a spiritual teacher. And I remember being out on a walk on my lunch break while teaching, and I was just going over all the fear and bringing up all the things that other people projected onto me, why I shouldn't leave, why I should continue this. And she responded and said, okay, maybe in this lifetime, you're just not meant to do that. Maybe you're just meant to continue on with your teaching job. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, okay, thank you for saying that, because it snapped me back into, of course I'm meant for that. And of course I'm worthy of that. So I remember that moment, it stands out. But finally I made a date in my mind where I would go, giving them enough time to find someone. It would not be a hard job to fill because it's in a wonderful school district with a wonderful leader and, wonderful teachers and families. So I went in the beginning of August to speak to my principal, who I was very close with. And I think she knew. She knew when I got there why I was there. And it was emotional. It was sad. And we keep in touch. She just sent me a podcast the other day and was saying how it reminds her of me. But I think in that moment when I went to meet with her, to have my boss at the time not try to talk me out of it.
Oh, she didn't?
Oh, no. She was like, I'm so proud of you and you're going to do unbelievable things. This is what you're meant to do.
Wow.
I could cry thinking about our conversation. It was a really emotional one. But for her to almost encourage and...
That's different.
It was such a testament to okay, I know I'm where I'm meant to be. And she was amazing, reflective of what an amazing person she is. But yeah, it was a wild moment.
How was Vinny and your family, when you told them I'm leaving this job? Because when you made it real, because...
Well, I was planting the seed for 2 years. So every so often I would say to my parents, well, eventually I'm not going to be in this job and I'm probably leaving. And I planted the seed really heavy a lot along the way. So when it finally came time, they were like, okay, great. But I didn't tell my dad right away. And they actually, for some reason, my mail was going to my parents' house because I started with the school district. I worked there once before while I was still living at home with my parents, and a letter came to the house. And my dad came over that day. We were having a party for Vinny's birthday. It was the end of August. And he was like, why did I get a letter from your school? He knew. And I was like, I got a stomachache saying this because he was probably so upset, but I was like, it's my resignation letter. Like, it's confirming that I left. And he was like, what? Like, he was so upset, but he now understands and he trusts.
And he must be so proud of you.
He is. He is. It took him a little while, but he definitely is.
Yeah, because parents, I feel like they want to make sure that we're safe, that we're 100%. Secure. It's just their job.
That's it.
They don't want to harm us. That's one thing I had to understand. You just want the best, and the best for them, that is what they were taught. It's to feel safe. It's to feel secure.
That's it.
You know,
I heard once on a podcast, and I share it a lot because I'll never forget it. It was during this time while I was going through this, and the podcast, I forget who it was, but they said your parents don't really care if you're happy. They want you to be safe. Like, that is all they really care about. And it just like hit. I was like, that's so true, because that's their way of love. That's them showing love.
Yes, and like, how was it like when you finally left your job and went in all in to Evolve? Like, how did you feel? Did you feel excited? Because that's what I would think, but I don't know if that's your experience. Like, cause
yeah, honestly, it was very exciting, and it was just like, oh my goodness, this is how I'm meant to live. And I don't think I shared enough of it, because sometimes I'm like, oh, do people really care about like this whole process? But like, it felt so exciting to me to be able to eat lunch whenever my body wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, now I could finally eat like when I'm hungry, not on someone else's schedule or a school schedule. I can stay a little bit deeper and longer in my morning meditations. And it felt like a really nice transition, because while I was working at school, I was doing Evolve and I was doing private sessions. I essentially had like 2 full-time jobs. So when I finally made the transition, it was like,
you had some time to
now
relax.
I can put the focus here. And it grew so much since I've been able, since I've been able to put so much energy there.
Yeah, but so you felt just excited because you went from like such a stable job to like being self-employed, running your own business, which I think is a huge shift, you know, for a lot of people. I mean, my husband has his own business and he just love it, but he says so much work that goes into it, you know, that if you're in corporate or you're working for someone else, you don't understand unless you're really working and dealing with, you know, hiring people, getting the help, just being consistent, you know, because you don't have anyone else to tell you like
I know
what to do. If you don't do it.
I think there's so much inner work that happens with this practice that prepared me to go into this. And I knew if I started to panic, if I started to worry about money coming in, that would take me out of alignment of what my purpose is and what I'm meant to do. Like, Evolve was never started for money. It was never started as a side hustle. It was started so that I can fulfill my dharma and live my truth and help people in a way that finally felt so authentic and true to me. Yes. And that's what I'm keeping with this every step of the way. And I believe the abundance comes by being my truest and most authentic self.
I totally agree with that. When I got into my business, the mortgage business, I really fell in, I say, like, as a purpose. I totally understand my why now. And it was never about the money. Obviously, I was getting paid, but it was about each person that I was able to help them fulfill that dream. It was never, and the money just kept coming, you know, because I think that when you really step to your truth, it just comes because you're not focused on the money. You know you're going to be taken care of, like we said. Yeah. So what would you say, like, as the challenges, like going from working for someone else and like becoming your own boss, like what would you say for somebody that may be thinking of making the changes or really having the courage to go after the purpose and living in that truth?
I think number one is your mindset and your energy, because and that's part of the reason why I waited as long as I did to make the shift. I wanted a really strong foundation. I didn't want to feel like I had to ever stress Evolve out and have expectations of Evolve to bring in a certain number or amount. I wanted it to be a really safe and comfortable space. So I think doing the inner work, having a meditation practice is so important. Calling yourself out on where you're keeping yourself small and where you're in a lack mindset or a scarcity mindset, and expanding your internal dialogue and world so that you can be a magnet. And I mean, there's so many details that go into like the abundance meditations that we do, and really tapping into that infinite power within yourself so that you have the strongest foundation. You're not going to freak yourself out. You're not going to go into a negative mindset because you know better than that. You know that what you're thinking is what you're going to attract.
Exactly.
So what do you need to do to get into the space of what you want?
Yes.
But with that, I think one challenge that I still face, like you said about like not having a boss, it's honoring myself and the time I need to recharge because I need a ton of it, but also holding myself accountable and making sure that I'm showing up in the way that I want to. So it's like that combination of really taking time to recharge while also being like you said, this was a goal for you. You need to follow up and you need to be on that as well.
Yes. And like you're saying, like it's so, can be like challenging at times, I think, when you're going through do things for yourself. But if you like, Kundalini really prepares you. Like
it really does.
For me, it really does. It holds you, makes you aware. Like last week, somebody broke something in my car. Like, and I never look to anyone else, but I look at myself. It just makes you so aware. Like, what am I thinking that I attract that? Like, you know, it's never someone else. It's always me. Like, why am I attracting that? Because I know I'm creating everything that's coming around me. So why is this coming to me? Like, what is it, my mindset that I need to work on? What is it? Just to me,
or like, what is this trying to teach me?
Correct.
Or what is this even protecting me from?
Yes, I agree.
It's just opening your mind beyond what we see, hear, and feel.
Yes.
This, like, what more does this have to offer?
Yes. So I know you changed some of, you know, things like with the meditations. Now I love that you're doing the monthly ones. That's definitely my feedback. I love that, like how we're having the self-love meditation. I think as a woman, a lot of times we don't feel worthy enough. We don't feel deserving. And it's been amazing. Like I love how you're changing every month. So is any more changes coming?
So I always love hearing feedback. So any feedback you have, please, more than welcome to share. So yeah, each month we have a designated meditation that we focus on for the month. And every member has a choice whether they want to stick with that one meditation for the entire month or go through the library, which has like over 200, I want to say, meditations at this time. There's a meditation for everything or anything.
Yes.
And we're going to continue that. Next month, for the month of March, we're going to focus mostly on our intuition and expanding
that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I love how much I'm able I love, you have so many meditations already for intuition,
yes.
which I practice them often. You know, sometimes I do in the morning and night just because it just feels so connected. Anything that you would say to somebody like that are going through changes that, you know, or like maybe are going through, like you did it with, like you had panic attacks, things like that. Like, what would you say?
I think that trying to start, and obviously this isn't medical advice, but starting a practice that feels good for you, taking time. We live in such a fast-paced world, and taking time to ground, to try something new. Say you've tried meditation before and it didn't work for you, try another type. I really highly recommend you try this.
Yes.
And even if you've tried Kundalini before, try this too. I've met so many people who have tried all different types of meditation. They've tried Kundalini, they've tried everything, but this method landed. And it doesn't mean necessarily it will land for you, but keep exploring and find that thing that really helps. I think just as you were saying with the coffee, we get so wrapped up in and the alcohol, for me, it's what I did. That's it. So I'm going to do it again. We get so wrapped up in our own patterns. And when we break those cycles and we break the pattern, that's actually where we're welcoming in so much more change and growth. So where can you maybe shift, even if it's a workout? Maybe you've been running for 20 years and you try a yoga.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, just see what it brings. Have an open mind, stay flexible, and see where you're guided to. Pay attention to things that come up in conversations, on your phone, wherever, because the universe is can and will send you signals and messages
Always.
from the outside world, helping to guide you. So you can just ask for that guidance and be open to receiving it.
Yes, I agree. I pray like all the time, every day, and I feel like I get so many messages through people too, in so many ways.
Yes.
It's just having faith.
Yep.
Not letting you live in, I don't want to live in fear anymore. I just have faith that everything is working out for me. Either it's teaching me, it's getting me to a better place. It's just taking me there. Yeah. Either I realize it now, but I start to embody to that truth,
Yeah.
So where can people find you? Can you share?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at inkale.xkale. And you can visit my website at Evolve by Erika, ERIKA.com. And I would love to connect. And you can always DM me and share that you heard about Evolve by Erika here on the podcast. And I'm always in my DMs, always connecting, always answering.
You're very responsive.
So
yes.
You can always reach out.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Just keep shining your light, keep following the purpose, going after you, changing so many people's life. And I know you're going to continue to do so much more. I can even get emotional because I'm just so grateful for you.
I'm so grateful for you. And I would say the same back to you. You're such a light, and just keep shining, keep going.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know.